Former US President Donald Trump has allegedly disclosed classified information about US nuclear submarines to the Australian billionaire Anthony Pratt. Now, the conversation, which took place at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort, allegedly, back in April 2021, reportedly occurred while Pratt was advocating for Australia to purchase nuclear submarines from the US. I'm joined now by Liberal Party Defence and National Security Policy Chair Lincoln Parker. Lincoln, great to see you. This is incredibly serious, I know, but I can't help but giggle a little bit when I read that Pratt allegedly went on to tell 45 people, including 3 former prime ministers, and hand up, I've been guilty of this too. When I hear some juicy goss, I'm the first. I'm not meant to tell, I kind of get it. He had some pretty good information.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I think you mentioned that these is alleged, they're unconfirmed, so we're not entirely sure what former President Trump said to Mr. Pratt. So I think we need to be careful about passing any judgment on either former President Trump or Anthony Pratt until we know the exact truth. It is rather serious. However, exactly what did he say? What were the specifics? How much does former President Trump really know about the operations of nuclear submarines? And then really did Mr. Pratt go and tell 45 additional people? I think we need to see more detail here before we say or really pass any judgment.
Look, I completely agree, but I think, generally there's an element of truth to these kind of reports, and it's a fairly specific number. And no one's saying that Anthony Pratt, even if all of this is true, has done anything wrong. It's not his job to keep national secrets. If he has been told something and passed it on, then, the fault there lies with Donald Trump, I would have thought.
Well, it does, and I think the former president should have been more careful if this is indeed true. There's no excuse for anybody to reveal anything that's classified or certainly not secret or top secret at all, and we don't know that that happened. But if it did, then he should be held accountable.
Could this impact the US-Australia relationship?
Look, I don't think so. I'd say there'd be little to no impact on it. The media and the Democrats are trying everything they can to try and put Trump in jail. I think this could just be another one of those sorts of attempts. Who knows? I don't think that, what's really going to impact the relationship is Australia going slow on actually doing the necessary things that we need to do in order to be prepared to have and operate and maintain nuclear-powered vessels.
Speaking of AUKUS, it's a great link in. Earlier in the week, we saw a senior defence advisor to the Clinton administration warning that AUKUS was doomed for failure. What do you make of this? There seems to be a fair bit of opposition to it in the US.
Well, it's always been the United States Congress that has to approve the sale of nuclear-powered submarines to Australia. That's always been the case. So President Biden and State Department can kind of do, and Prime Minister Albanese can do lots of press events and make it look like AUKUS is going ahead. But the bottom line is US Congress has to sign off on it. And if the United States Congress is not convinced that Australia is indeed doing everything in our power that we said we would do in order to be able to maintain and upgrade our facilities and have the proper systems of support in place, which we have not done, then of course it's in their purview to say, well, you're not ready. Why would we sell you nuclear-powered submarines? Why would we operate nuclear-powered submarines ourselves down there, either on your behalf or in conjunction with you or in any manner? We've seen certainly the United States Navy has worked with bases in Japan. Yokosuka is one of them, where they had to go and upgrade their facilities, and they did it. But the question is to the Labor government, why have you done zero to prepare for AUKUS? Are you trying to quietly kill AUKUS and not make it look like you're doing so?
Very interesting looking at AUKUS and some of the comments coming out of New Zealand ahead of their election. Actually, the Mad Butcher, who was a big fan of rugby league back in the day, I got to know when I was hosting on Channel 9, and he gave me the number of Chris Luxon, who's the opposition leader there, and made some very interesting comments about New Zealand joining in with AUKUS. And I spoke to him and tried to get him on, and he's not ready to talk yet. He's going to wait till their election's over, but watch that space very carefully. Speaking of nuclear weapons, President Vladimir Putin has been waving his nuclear wand yet again, threatening the West. Do you take it seriously? I mean, how many times do we have to hear the same thing?
Well, of course, we have to take it seriously. Nuclear weapons are the most serious form of destruction on the planet, and if any dictator, whether it's Putin or Xi Jinping, makes threats, you have to take them seriously. And let's not forget that China is Russia's quote-unquote no-limits partner. Now, whenever Russia decides to wave their threats around, we indeed need to take this seriously, and the world needs to take this seriously. And I would add that Europe needs to start stepping up and taking this war with Ukraine more seriously than it is, and either helping Ukraine or at least getting everybody to the negotiating table and to end the bloodshed.
Yeah, that's why it terrifies me when people in the US start to say that they need to pull back and not support Ukraine. I know you and I think, differ slightly on this, but, you know, there's a lot at stake here. Thank you so much, Lincoln. Really appreciate your time. Brilliant, as always. And just a quick note here as well. The Ukrainian officials have confirmed at least 51 people, including an 8-year-old boy, have been killed by a Russian airstrike targeting a cafe in the northeast region. It's one of the deadliest attacks. And Yuri Sak, who normally joins us on this show, he's a defence advisor over there in Ukraine. He can't come on. He's travelling around, but he says the Russian beast has shown its true nature again. Appalling. And that it is. I don't think you can say it any better than that. Okay.